Hi, it's Gadget UK here. Another quick video. I'm just going to take off this NEO-C1 chip off this donor board. This is the board that I received today from Hawaii, from Xian Xi. I don't know that. It's Xian Xi. I don't know if that's like 11 or whether it is Z. But yeah, nice guy who frequents the Neo Geo forums. Very helpful. Can sometimes provide some spares and things for some of these systems, and in this case he's kindly provided a full donor board complete with the bridge board for the cartridge slot, and that's perfect. So that's useful to have as a spare, I guess, if I ever damage any of the pins on the cartridge socket. But yeah, before I do anything with this, sometimes it's always worth having a good look at the board. I mean, obviously I'm only going to use this for spares, or well, maybe I'm not, I don't know, and that's my point really. When you get one of these, it might be worth considering testing it, see what might be wrong with it, just to, you know, give yourself a bit of peace of mind that the component you're considering taking off potentially works. But also, you know, what else might be wrong with the board in terms of using it for future spares and things as well. Possibly even considering it, you know, for a repair. So I'll just power this up now and just see what's going on. I've had a good inspection. Obviously, you can see there's been some previous repair work here to this 32 chip OR gate and onto the SRAM here. So there must be a couple of damaged tracks or something. It's not too bad. It's, you know, it's a bit dirty. You can tell some bit of corrosion stuff going on there. It's supposed to have been stored in a bit of a dirty, damp environment. Look at the state of that connector there. Really, really bad. It's like a bit of water on it or something. I don't know. It's in a pretty bad state, but it's generally the board's pretty good. It's pretty clean. Battery's been removed. There's I spotted that there. You can see that bit of track damage there. There's a couple of what look like damaged tracks, and that one on the inside there looks a bit suspicious. Probably all three of those out on tracks there. But other than that, it looks relatively good. So I mean, I'm expecting possibly a backup RAM issue. It may need a new 7.4 LS32. Maybe someone's, or HC32 I should say, maybe someone's you know, had a go at fixing it but not realise it needs a new chip. I just hope it's nothing to do with the NEO-C1. Anyway, let's power it up, see what happens. Right, got it connected up there to the super gun there. Let's power this up. I did try this a minute ago and it powered up and then went off, so you can see that backup memory. Let's see if it switches off on its own. No, it seems alright now after I've cleaned those connectors up. So yeah, definitely a backup RAM error. I think what I'm going to do while I'm here is put the diag ROM on there and just give this a test with the diag ROM. And I might even put the diag cart in, test the sound as well, and just to see what's wrong with this board specifically. Right, let's just get that ROM out. Let's put a screwdriver and just gently lever one side. Gently leave the other side. Just a bit at a time each side. There are special tools for removing this. I know people like retro game mods would give a mental. People removing chips in this way. You can get a dip extractor, just pulls it equally from both sides. Just lift it off. Make sure you don't bend the pins and stuff. And then we'll put on, as I've shown you in a previous video here, I think it was the Z8 repair I did, and the cart stuff video. Got a diagnostics ROM here. Make sure you got pin one the right way. Get one side lined up. Any of it, and just press it in. I'll give it a try with that diag ROM. Just need to put my controller in. Let's give it another try. Yeah, okay. Select start. Yeah, that's fine. So that's interesting. So, okay. Right, so before you use ChipQuik, best thing to do is clean out the base, you know, of your soldering station and your sponge. Make sure you've not got any bits of normal solder and stuff on it. Clean it all up, because then you can reuse the solder. You can put the lumps of it into your tray when you finish, as you desolder them. Melt it all into a big lump and then reuse it at a later date, because you don't get very much in these little kits. In theory, you should be able to reuse it certainly a few times, I would think. Provided you've got separate flux and stuff, then it should be alright. That's what it looks like. It just looks like normal solder, but it's sort of a shinier, a duller. It's got like a dull matte appearance, certainly a different colour. So yeah, we'll give that a go. Just wait for the soldering iron to heat up. We'll get some of that on that NEO-C1 chip after I've cleaned the board a little bit and try and remove it. Right, let's give this a go. See that straight away that's working pretty well, because that is almost certainly holding the melt, staying in a molten state. Obviously I put some flux on this to start with, cleaned up just around it a little bit. Flux really smells. See that there, it's come off nicely there. So we'll just sit that there a sec. And then what I need to do now is start the clean up work to remove, like I say, if I keep it in this tray here, I can reuse this with some flux, so we'll just certainly does stay molten an awful long time, that is absolutely for sure. And I want to try and get this off here nice and cleanly anyway, because as I've just shown, this has got a backup RAM fault, and I reckon I can get this board working again, and that's probably going to be my next project. I'll get the solder session to get it blocked with this ChipQuik. As my next project, I'm going to have a go at fixing this board. I'll get some potentially new SRAMs on there, clean up that work with those solder wires and the solder and the wiring there to the 74HC32, and you never know, might be able to get this working again. And obviously I'll put the faulty, well semi-faulty NEO-C1 chip onto this board. So it'll just be a single player board, but I fancy doing that anyway, just for the challenge, to be honest. Most of this off here now. Obviously just need to reheat the bottom of there now, so that I can get that off. There we go, there's some molten's coming off. Just sit that in. And then solder tray thing there. Just remove that extra solder. Still a reasonable amount on there actually. Starting to come off now. Obviously I've got to repeat this action in a minute on the working board. Well, I say the working board, the board with a faulty C1 on it. So that's going to be interesting. Just trying to get any little bits that are just floating around there. And obviously the stuff that's off these pads. I'll clean that up with some isopropyl flux and stuff like that. Again. I've just cleaned that up with a bit of isopropyl, so just use this bit of paper towel there just to absorb the isopropyl that's left with the flux and stuff soaked into it. So there you go, you can see nice and clean there now after having removed that chip. So the next trick now is to reuse or tidy up, I guess, the pins on the chip that was removed. Still got some of the ChipQuik on it there, and as you can see, I've been collecting all the stuff I've removed. Now I'll do the same with whatever I suck off there in a minute, and just melt that all into one big blob, so you can put that, when it cools down, stick it in a little bag or something. You can reuse that at a later date. So I'm just going to clean this chip up now. Right, the hardest part of this, without a doubt, has been removing the solder from this, the pins on this chip. You can see this, they're still relatively straight. They're bound to be slightly, just a tiny bit bent out of position. But yeah, there's no solder, there's no joins there with solder now. What I usually do, I do this on a flat surface, use a bit of blue tack to help, and use the desolder pump. And when your desolder pump stops being effective, put some WD-40 in it. You can see how fast that's firing now. It's like someone's firing so fast it wants to pull itself to pieces, and that makes a massive difference. It's very easy to get the solder off when you've got that amount of suction. So clean the thing out, put a bit of WD-40 in it. But yeah, so the next step now for this is, what I always do is to flatten the pins. So use something like a flat edge like this, like a ruler, and just make sure, you've got to go all the way along, put a bit of pressure on the pins, just to make sure that it's that as flat as they possibly can be. I did the same thing with Z80. Whenever you're using reclaimed chips, it's important you do this, because they're not going to be perfectly straight. You need to examine it with a magnifying glass as well, just to make sure you've definitely not got any joins and that the pins are as straight as they could possibly be. Occasionally you'll get the pins on the end there, I'll bend a little bit out of position from when you've tried to use desolder braid and stuff on it. So yeah, this is the final step, I guess, before I remove the chip off the other board and apply this one. So I'll just make sure all these are dead straight now, and then I'll get on to removing the other chip. Right, so same thing on my main board, just got the chip off. It does take a few minutes. You've got to keep heating the pin, heating all the sides, heat all the sides, go around sort of in a clockwise or anti-clockwise fashion, keep going round, and just use something on one of the very corners, and eventually it just lifts, the whole thing just lifts off really easily. And then obviously you've got to remove this and clean this up again, and then we'll get the new chip put on there. Right, I thought I'd show you the old chip I've just taken off. Managed to get most of the quick chip off there. There's a few tiny little bits, but yeah, that needs cleaning up, because I'm going to stick that back on the other board in order to finish getting that back up and fixed on the other board. But you can see that's how you reclaim it. You gather it all together in the corner of your tray there, and melt it all into one blob. And looking at the volume I've got left there, that I would say, what I did the same thing when I took the other chip off, the one there that's about to go back on, and I would say the blob is 70 to 80% the size of the original one. So you only managed to reclaim, I would say, probably 80% at best with this ChipQuik stuff. But it's worth doing that, because, like I say, this was 18 quid. Look how much of that I've got left. It's, I haven't used very much. I've probably used one winding out of the 5 or 6 that are on there. But still, I've still got a blob there that I can reuse as well. But it's well worth doing that. And if you're going to do anything like this in volume, you just want hot. Don't mess around with ChipQuik. Get a hot air rework station, and use solder paste for sticking these things back on. But yeah, so that's the way of doing it. Anyway, so I'm just going to clean this up as I just explained, and then I'll get the new chip put on there. So as you can see there, cleaned up the NEO-C1 position on the board. Anyway, so get the new chip on there now. I'm just going to use the same technique I've done in previous videos, and especially if you look back at the backup RAM video I did. Same thing, use a bit of blue tack to hold the chip on, tack the 4 corners, then inspect, make sure all your pins are perfectly lined up before you commit to doing any more soldering. But then just use some, what do you call it, sort of drag technique, really, where you drag the iron across the pins, so as long as you're using plenty of flux. And I'll put some flux on there before, and I'll stick some flux on the pins of the chip before I start to solder. But as long as you do that, the drag technique works quite well. So I'll show you the results once I've done that. Obviously the key, make sure you get pin 1 lined up as well, which is in this corner here, so dot should be in that corner, and see how we get on. Right, the chip's back on there now, as you can see. It's not looking too bad, and it's cleaning up, but good. Well, it looks like we've got good contacts. I need to go over with the magnifying glass again a second time, and the multimeter afterwards, just to make sure we've got no shorts anywhere, but it's perfectly aligned, it's the right way round. I've definitely put the right chip on there, so fingers crossed. I'll clean it up now. Right, all cleaned up. This is worthy of a macro, super macro, because as you can see, you know, I've done a really good job of that. It's there's not too much solder on there. I still need to tidy up these the same way. I'm going to do that in a minute, I think. But yeah, you'd have a hard time especially after this age a little bit, having working out that I've replaced that chip. No damage, perfectly aligned. Great, pleased with that. So I'm just going to clean up the board, inspect it, and give it a test. Right, as you can see, got the crosshatch test on here. I've just been saved by a 2 amp fuse. Good idea. This is come back to the other video, consolisation part 3, I think it was. Make sure you get a fuse in there. Make sure it's something like 2 amp, because as I showed earlier, these things only consume 1.3. But I had several pins on one side of the C1 chip. It's completely bridged with solder, and I swear to God, I inspected every side of the chip, and every other side of the chip's perfect, and that side wasn't. I don't know how. I just don't understand how I missed that whole side of the chip, unless I checked 3 sides of one chip and then got mistaken for the chip that's nearby that's the same size. I honestly don't know, but yeah, it was just blowing fuses straight away. I thought this was strange. Measured from ground to +5, and it's like, 13 ohms or something, like really low. I was like, this is very odd. Check continuity on all the pins, and then as soon as it came to that particular side of the chip, it was like short. It's like, what's going on here? Magnifying glass up to it, I couldn't believe how much solder there was at the bottom of there, but it looks perfect now. You'd think that hadn't been replaced. I'm just going to swap out the diag ROM on here. If I just move this down, I'll show you. Switch it off. Got my diag ROM. Let's just lever this out. That's carefully. That might be something to do with why this is faulty. I don't know, you can see that satanic star in the middle of there. SNK designers thought it'd be quite funny, I guess. Little Easter egg, I guess. Right, so I've got the diag. Oh, the labels come off, and it's sticking back on. Right. Diag ROM in, switch it on. All tests passed, so I'll switch that back off. I'll just cut back to me going through the normal control test in the normal with the unibars back in. Right, so the moment of truth. Let me just try and move that up a little bit into the crosshatch test. So up, down, left, right, A, B, C, D. Select start. Obviously goes round. Into player 2, just unplug it, plug it into player 2, up, down, left, right, oops, sorry, A, B, C, D, select start, yeah, fine, it's working there. So, yeah, NEO-C1 replaced, control problems fixed on player 2, because the start button for player 2 wasn't working previously. That's great, so I'm just going to switch this off, stick a cart in it, and see what happens. Right, so I've got a metal slug in there now. I'll just change the region if I can. So I can't seem to change the region. Switch it off. Back on. It's probably the backup RAM's got itself in it. That's very strange. It's like I've got no ability to. In fact, the Unibyte's just not doing anything. I think it's in arcade protect mode somehow. That's very odd. Try holding down those 3 buttons. strange things going on here. I can't get into the universe.
Mission 1, start.
How is players start? Oh, I know why. Oh, stupid mistake. Just for future reference, if you ever have this problem, it's because I'm connected to player 2's port. Now I'm on player 1 port. Should be able to, I'll have to reboot it. There we go, that's working. Phew. Thought to God there with some sort of really weird new problem started, and then when player 2 started I thought, oh my god, we're back to the player 2 starting problem again. Right, USA console, let's reboot. Metal Slug in. Well, all things are looking good. I suspect I shouldn't have any problems with this. Test it for a bit. But yeah, I'm relieved. Relieved that I managed to replace the chip. Grateful to Xian Xi for sending me the replacement board, or spares board I should say. I'm also really pleased I put a 2 amp fuse on there, because that stupid mistake that I just made there, the one side of the C1 chip being originally solder, that would have created me a whole new problem. Maybe not damage the C1, maybe damage something else. But yeah, it's looking and playing pretty sweet now, so I can actually finish putting this back together. I'm just waiting for the voltage readout. It's like a little LED panel. It just displays the 5 volt status. The reason I got that is because of the C1 problem and the Z80. I started wondering if it's the voltage. The power supply I've got is outputting about 5.18 volts, and as soon as it goes under load it drops to about 5.7, 5.9, so like that. Eventually it sort of bottoms out about 5.05, which is that's all fine. You know, the Z80 is rated to about 7.25. But when I first initially did some initial measurements when it wasn't under load, it was measuring 7.25. I was a little bit concerned, you know, I was thinking about pushing the Z80 right to the limit. But, you know, it's like say under load, it's not. Yeah, so I ordered the little voltage display, and I'll mount that somewhere. I'm not sure where yet, perhaps on the front, depends how high it is. It might not fit with the height of the gap between the base and the top part, but the plan is to put that on there, use that as a power indicator as well, because the power indicator that's there, that's great when there's no car in, but when there's car in you can't really tell when it's on, so I need a separate power indicator. So I guess a little LED display that shows the voltage will serve the 2 purposes. So great, anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.